Have you ever thought about what's the reasoning behind testing people? Is it just for fun? Like, why do we even have tests? Is it just so we evaluate students and give them bad grades and, like, whatever? Like, or is there something else? Hear me out. Tests were designed to, that doesn't mean that that's what they're being used for right now, but they were designed to evaluate the current knowledge of a student at that specific moment and then give ex post feedback. Huh? Yeah, the intention is to give feedback after the fact. So you get your grades back and now you have a chance to go and review what went wrong and perhaps even get the grade back for it, or at least part of it. No, the goal shouldn't be, or it isn't, I guess, to punish you and like mess up your GPA and your self-esteem and all that stuff. Tests were designed initially to be sort of like a problem set so you could evaluate students and see if they're actually learning or not. After all, what other way would you use to evaluate and know if students are learning? That's what they say. Look, there's nothing wrong with being tested. Really. Now, the problem is if you're only being evaluated by tests, because you could have sick days, maybe you're just stressed out, whatever. So that one moment shouldn't be the only evaluation that you get. Or the opposite. Maybe you just crammed everything the night before, and then all of the information that you gave in that test, you might have gotten an A or whatever, but you don't really know it. Or you guessed all the questions and you got an A. But guess what? None of those scenarios are really representative of whether you learned. That was really just a snapshot of that one moment. Now that you know what tests were really created for, here are a few things that you should probably start implementing on your day-to-day life. If you miss a question, you probably need to figure out why, right? That's just beginning. So if you missed a question, why did that happen? Did I actually not know anything about it? Was it just a tiny mistake? Try to figure out what happened. Ask the questions because otherwise you're not growing from the evaluation. In fact, I would much rather you do just a few problems, but actually get good feedback on all of those and fully understand them than just doing a load of them and never really checking what went right or what went wrong. Think of this, there will always be another question out there, I promise you. So if you keep going through them, you're going to go through them endlessly. But maybe you're just doing the questions you already know. A trick that I learned, and I wish I had learned sooner, is limit yourself, limit your time. So say in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to solve these questions and I'm actually going to get feedback on them. Establish, for example, that you're going to take 2 30-minute study sessions, okay? But I mean real work. I don't mean have your phone around and texting and whatever else. It's real work. That is going to turn out to be a lot more effective than you just sitting on your desk for 6 hours saying or thinking that you're doing work when you're actually really not. So again, a couple of hours, maybe an hour even, can be a lot more effective if you're really putting in the time and the mindset into it than 6 hours just sort of. Now, changing a little bit, I talked about getting feedback on the stuff you missed, but what about on the stuff that you got right? Because it could have happened that you guessed the question. It could have happened that you were between two things and you turn out to choose the right one. Well, you still don't fully know that question. So just because you got the question right, that doesn't mean that you know what's going on in there. So you need to ask yourself a few questions. Did I really know what I was doing? Did I guess it? If they ask the opposite, would I know? If you feel iffy about it, then maybe that's your cue that you don't really know the material and perhaps you should go and study it a little bit more. To close up, always get the answers to your questions. Otherwise, you're not getting real feedback and you're just going through the motions without ever truly learning and getting the feedback from your tests. Look, tests test. They do not attest. In other words, if you did really do well on a test, great, good job, I'm proud of you. But that doesn't mean that you are the intelligent, the genius, right? And same is for the opposite. If you did bad in a test, that doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means that you did not have a full grasp of that knowledge that you were being quizzed or tested on. Tests are testing your knowledge on a subject. They are not a certificate of your intelligence.